Hello everyone and welcome to my Stamblade PvP build guide. When I was only starting playing PvP about 5 or 6 years ago, my first main for the longest time was a Nightblade. And back then, if I told you I'm maining Nightblade in PvP, you would automatically think it's a Stamblade. Because hybridization wasn't a thing, and the Magblades weren't nearly as strong as they are now. Back then, Stamblade was easily one of the best PvP builds and it was super fun to play it. It was a classic two-hander in Bow Stamblade. You were squishy as hell, but you had all the damage in the world. I remember that I was a wood elf with New Moon Acolyte before nerf, Stun's Favor, Balorgh and Master's Bow. Absolutely insane damage and very fast, quick thinking playstyle. I think that was and probably still is my favorite thing in PvP. So coming back to 2025, I was testing all of my builds from a previous update after subclassing came to console. And pure builds unfortunately aren't really working as great as they used to. So was my Magblade. At least I didn't feel it for whatever reason. It's kinda funny because this build I'll be showcasing now has all of the same sets, but the build itself feels very different. More about that later. So I thought, what if I'll give a classic Stamblade another fresh try in 2025? And here we are. And now let's get into the build. As usual, full written build will be in the description, and in the video I'll only be talking about the main parts of it. And now I'll start with the sets. As my main damage set, I'm using Null Arca, which gives me crit chance, weapon and spell damage, and a very strong proc, best in the game right now for PvP. If you don't have Null Arca, I would personally use Order's Wrath. It's very strong and is craftable as well. Tarnished would be another nice choice. Night Mother's Gaze might be also an interesting option, and in that case you can free yourself a skill slot because you won't need Major Breach. Kin Marcher also can be used for same purposes, but Major Breach there is just one of the buffs, so it probably won't have a 100% uptime and the set itself isn't heavy armor. My next set on this build is Rallying Cry. It gives me a lot of crit resistances, which is very important in current high crit damage meta. And it also gives 300 weapon and spell damage on top of that, which is very nice. One piece Trainee is usual for HP. Then I have Balorgh or Bloodspawn as my monster set. If you're going to use Soul Tether as your main ultimate, you can definitely use Balorgh and benefit a lot from it. To be honest, same with Incap, because Balorgh is nice damage buff anyway, but the more ult you have, the better Balorgh will be. And usually I play with Balorgh and only using Bloodspawn on decay. For this build, however, I started to think about using Bloodspawn, because you'll be tankier, which is very useful for this build especially. You will get stam recovery line, which is also good, because we're playing with max stamina on this build. And finally, Bloodspawn will give you a lot of ult, which you can convert into a lot of damage by using Incap/Soul Harvest or Soul Tether as well, to be honest. And if you are using Soul Harvest instead of Incap, it will also give you a lot of ultimate whenever you get a kill. So Bloodspawn plus Nightblade Catalyst passive plus Soul Harvest plus Combat Frenzy equals insane ultigen. Add to this stam recovery and tankiness, and this can just be the play for this build. And finally, as my mythic, I'm using Lefthander's Aegis build. This thing is our best friend on this build. Back in the day, people used to roll without it on Nightblades and it was just fine. But now, with current damage, trust me, without this thing, you most likely won't be enjoying this build, because you'll be extremely squishy without it. It's of course possible to play without it, but it just makes this build so much better. It gives you almost 21k damage shield whenever you roll. With Phantasmal Escape, 6 Well-Fitted and Rallying Cry, which allows us to use 6 Well-Fitted in the first place, you can roll a lot. So this mythic will be your lifesaver in PvP. Highly recommend to use it. Now let's move to the skills. On the front bar I have Killer's Blade as our execute, Phantasmal Escape for major evasion, CC immunity and infinite rolls. We're also getting major resolve after using any shadow ability, so on this build it will be Phantasmal Escape and Cloak. Surprise attack as our spammable. When you hit an enemy from their flank, it applies Thunder status effect, which reduces your enemy's armor by around 3k, and the skill also critically strikes every 3 seconds. Merciless resolve for a bow proc, Power Extraction for major and minor brutality and sorcery, and it also applies minor cowardice to our enemies. And finally, Incap or Soul Tether as my ultimate. You can use both modes of Death Stroke here, either Incap or Soul Harvest. You can also slot Soul Tether as your frontbar ultimate and Soul Harvest as your backbar ultimate, or vice versa. On the backbar I have Healthy Offering as my burst heal. You can also use Scrubbing heal if you want. Cloak for Major Savagery and Prophecy and also Invisibility. Vigor for Minor Resolve. Siphoning attacks for passive healing and sustain, and you can also activate them for even more sustain. Reaper's Mark for Major Breach. It also heals you when you kill an enemy marked with it, and it gives you Major Berserk for 10 seconds after you kill an enemy. Piercing Mark morph lasts for way longer, 1 minute, and you can also see your enemy if they use Stealth or Invisibility. So both morphs are really good, depends what do you need more. And as my backbar ultimate, either Soul Harvest, Soul Tether or Undo. Recently I was playing with Soul Harvest on frontbar and Tether on backbar, or Tether frontbar and Soul Harvest backbar. We don't have Minor Force on this build, so you can use Race Against Time if you want, let's say in place of Killer's Blade. For Major Brutality and Sorcery, you can use Rally or Venom Arrow. Some skills you can swap around as you like. For example, Phantasmal Escape on backbar and Cloak on frontbar, same with ultimates. But be sure that you have at least one Shadow and one Siphoning skill at your frontbar, because of the useful passives that they give. Now I want to talk about the build. And first let's talk about weapons. Why two-hander and bow and not dual wield and ice staff? There is a short answer and a long answer. Short answer, it's because we are playing classic Stamblade, so we need to have two-hander and bow. And here's the long answer. Let's compare dual wield and two-hander passives. On both types we have two same passives, which are stam cost reduction and bonus based on your weapon type. The rest of them are different. Dual wield has way better damage passives, but I'd say two-hander probably has better 1vx passives, due to light attack damaging nearby enemies and 30% stam recovery after killing an enemy. Other difference is that on two-hander we can only use one enchant instead of two and one weapon trade instead of two. So answering the question why two-hander over dual wield, it's because it looks cooler. Now let's talk about bow versus ice staff. Both bow and ice staff have decent passives, but most of them matter only when you use it as your main weapon. However, one passive is very important if you use that weapon on your backbar. For ice staff it's blocking cost reduction and increased amount of damage you can block. And for bow it's major expedition after all dodge. So you want ice staff for more tankiness and bow for more speed. On this build we want to be fast and we roll a lot, so we're using bow. Also same as with two-hander, it's just the way you play in this build. And since we are playing pure class, two-hander and Bow Stamblade, it's important to know what you are doing. It's not like you run around cheeky jolly with Nightblade, Warden, Templar subclasses, clapping everyone. Easy mode is over. We actually need to look in for this one. In my opinion, there is two most important things for this build. Number one, you have to roll a lot. Rallying Cry, Six Soul-Fitted and Lefthander Sage's Belt are here to help you. This, plus the fact that we spec into stamina and we can also use siphoning attacks, will allow us to roll more than on any other build. And that's exactly what you need to do here, because it's our main defense. Of course, you have strong heal and nice mitigation, but this build's playstyle requires a lot of rolling, so do that whenever you need. When fighting multiple opponents, you can roll in line of sight and then taking them one by one, or retreating if needed and then attack again. Don't forget about it and don't just rush at everyone like if you are playing a brawler build. Also don't forget to refresh Phantasmal Escape and press siphoning attacks, heals and cloak when needed. And number two important thing on this build is the way we are doing damage. And I'm talking about animation cancelling. Mostly animation cancelling of surprise attack and Killer's Blade. So how to do it? First you do light attack, then you do skill, and then you bash at the end. And obviously you need to learn to do it pretty fast. I believe that it will improve your Nightblade gameplay significantly. I myself feel like I could do it pretty well, but recently I was catching myself bashing before even doing a skill. So pro tip, don't let your thoughts move faster than the actual attack. So basically you animation cancel your light attack with your skill, and you animation cancel your skill with the bash. You can practice it on dummy as well, might be also very helpful. Animation cancelling just makes everything smoother and faster. Probably more damage as well, because the faster you attack, the more attacks you can do. Of course, you can play normally, that's totally fine too. I was playing like that for years and still having a lot of fun. Speaking about fun, this build is super enjoyable to play. If you build it right and play it well, it's really refreshing. Super old stuff, but it feels like the newest thing ever, just because almost no one playing it anymore. Be sure to give this build a try, and have fun. Thank you all for watching, and goodbye.